Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today on Social Enterprise Day. It's great to see you all. Thanks for giving up your time to come to the session. Really excited. We've got some brilliant social enterprises from across Wales going to talk to us today, and invite you all to submit questions to them as well. It's a great chance to learn and discuss social enterprise today. So thank you very much for coming. And so for those who aren't familiar with Social Business Wales, we're here to support social enterprises. We have a business advisor, I think, on the call today. I'll point them out to you later. But we are funded by European funding and Welsh Government funding, and we can provide different types of business support, business planning, peer-to-peer mentoring, lots of different options available. So please get in touch with us if you think we can help you. And we wanted to put this session on today to try and inspire future entrepreneurs to think about social enterprise as an option for a particular cause or problem in their community they'd like to solve. Or maybe we've got other people joining today who I know are already in social enterprises. So that's great to see you here, and hopefully you can support the people speaking, and feel free to exchange ideas and questions. And for other people who just support other organisations or work in local government, it's great to have you as well. If you can link up, future entrepreneurs with us, that'd be fab. So thanks all for joining. So the format for today, we've got 3 speakers. One of the people who was coming has had to drop out, I'm afraid. But so what we'll do is everybody will have sort of 5 to 10 minutes each to talk about their experience. They're going to talk a bit about what inspires them, how their organisation has got to where it is, their impact. It's actually also Global Entrepreneurship Week this week, and it's all about growing with purpose. So that really links in nicely to social enterprises. And at the end of the 3 talks, then we'll have lots of time for questions. I've already got some questions from some of you that were submitted in advance, so we'll try and get through those, but please feel free to pop questions, or if it's just an open discussion, pop that in the chat, and we've got time for that at the end. So also the first 2 presentations are going to be in English, and then the third one will be in Welsh. So we've got a translator here today, and I'll explain to you how to do the interpretation part when we get to that section. So the first speaker then we've got today is Andrew Burns from Cardiff Cycle Workshop, and he'll tell you all about the business, but it's bike recycling. And they were also in the Social Business Awards, awarded Social Enterprise Team of the Year. So that's fantastic news. So thank you very much for joining us today, Andrew. So over to you, and I will start my screen.
Okay, let's see if this works. I will just go up to share screen there. Has that worked?
Yep, great.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me today. Share a bit of our journey. And a disclaimer to start off with: any sort of advice or my viewpoints today aren't backed up by any scientific research. It's just what some of the things we've learned along the way. We're actually 15 years old tomorrow, so it's a bit of a significant birthday for us. But I'd like to start with this photo. I apologise for the quality of it, but I like it because it sort of shows a very humble beginning. If anything, the look on my body language of my face sort of really says, what the hell have I done? Or what the hell have we done? Just got a small unit, tons of rusty old bikes and 1 tool board. But that's how we started. You've got to start somewhere. And I think starting a social enterprise, like starting any small business, is like moving or starting to move a very heavy object. It takes an awful lot of effort and stress at the beginning, but hopefully, you get a bit of momentum once it gets going. So we did get going, and I think one thing we did well early on, and it's something I would really stress to anyone starting out, is really focus on the business. Our social aim is to get more people cycling, but we knew we really wanted wean ourselves off any grant funding. We did receive some grant funding to help start, but we made sure that was tapered over 3 years, and that was our aim, to become self-funding over 3 years. And it's always been our sort of viewpoint that grants are always out there, but we don't want to be grant reliant, and certainly not on our overheads and running costs. We see grants as an investment, and we always want to be in a stronger place at the end of any grant investment to move forward financially. But very soon we outgrew where we are, and so we did achieve, after 3 years, we were self-financing, and we're very lucky to move to a much bigger place, a much bigger unit. Continue to very much focus on the business, making sure we became we continued to be self-financing. That was the opening of that. Really nice day, much bigger, and over the last 8-9 years being in that, we've continued to grow within that building. As you can see, it's sort of come a long way from that early sort of industrial unit that we were in. As the business grows, I think one of the things that's quite difficult to do is strike a balance between diversification and focusing on what you're good at. It's very easy to become a sort of jack of all trades, master of none, saying yes to everyone, and then just spreading yourselves too thin. So we concentrate on 4 areas really. One is repairs. So our head repair mechanic there, Nick. So that's a commercial repair service. We do training, teaching people how to do bike maintenance. They're all wearing masks. That's a sort of during COVID times. Bike sales, it's a big part of what we do. Recycled bikes. There's our weekly Friday bike sale. And doctor bike sessions, which we go out and repair bikes at community events, workplaces, and things like that. And that balance is really also true when it comes to social aims. I think once you're a social enterprise, a lot of people expect you to do everything or do everything for free. We get asked for free bikes all the time, and people expect that because we're a social enterprise. We can't do that. If we gave a free bike to every charity or person that asked us for, we'd be bankrupt very shortly. So we keep our sort of social aims quite focused in terms of aiming to provide affordable second-hand bikes, provide training, provide these community events. One of the things we could do hundreds of different community projects, but again, we want to stay focused and do fewer well. And one of those is the refugee and asylum seeker project down at Oasis in Splot, where we run a weekly session for the client group, repairing and recycling. And that is a place where we give away free bikes through a referral service. Obviously, diversification is important because, as you said, with our 4 areas, it means that should one part of the business fail, you have other things to rely on. So, for instance, during COVID, we used to do a lot of cycle training as well. We used to have contracts with local authorities to deliver cycle training in schools, but COVID put an end to that. Fortunately, because we had these other strands to the business, that didn't mean the end of us. It was a much used expression during COVID, but we sort of pivoted and we could concentrate on those things where the demand went up during COVID. But unfortunately, we did have to stop doing or delivering some parts of the business. And just as another thing, as we've grown, what's become really important is, I know it's a bit of a cliche saying it's the team and it's people that are really important, but it's so true. Looking after people, making sure they're motivated. We have a big team of volunteers. I'll just use this photo as it's something we started 3 or 4 years ago, but always making sure we have a communal lunch with staff and volunteers, trainees. And we felt that's really helped to sort of team build. And I'd certainly say now with a team of 10 members of staff, I certainly see it as one of my main jobs is not necessarily to keep people happy, can't keep people happy all the time, but to keep people motivated, to keep improving the conditions under people work, and make sure they feel welcome, motivated, and that they're valued. And finally, I think I've got a final slide here, just to say, I know it sounds like a manager of a football team saying, "Oh, go out and enjoy it." but it is important to try and enjoy the good times. This is us. I think it was on the last day at the old workshop. We had a bit of a barbecue, and there was our team there. Running any business, lots of stresses and strains, but we've got to remember why we're doing all this, and having a good time and enjoying yourself is really important. So not just looking after the team, looking after yourself, and making sure you take some time out to have some fun sometime. So I look forward to answering any questions. I will just unshare my screen now. I think I came in just over my 5 minutes. There you go.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. So now we're staying in the Cardiff area and going over to Natalie now from Boston Brew Academy. Thank you very much for joining us, Natalie. So Natalie, she'll tell you all about her exciting business to do with coffee and young people. And Natalie was also shortlisted in the Social Business Wales Awards there for the One to Watch category. So Natalie's going to do a presentation now. I think I just need to share my screen because it's had a bit of a technical hitch and it's come back to me.
Right. Afternoon, everyone. Is it working for you? Yay!
Can people see that okay? Yeah. You just need to tell me when you want me to go.
Sure, no problem. If I get interrupted, guys, it's going to be the cat. The cat is just like trying to attack me at the moment. Had a little last minute change of venue, looking for somewhere quiet, but yes, right. Okay, yeah, so I'm Natalie. I run Boston Brew Academy. We're based down in Cardiff, in the south of Cardiff, particularly Butte Town, where a lot of our work takes place. With a lot of the local youngsters as well from Butte Town and Grangetown area. Sorry, if you could click to the next one, that would be awesome. I'm trying to remember the order of these slides now. Yeah. To take it right back, before I started this, I really knew very little, next to nothing about social enterprise and the whole world of social entrepreneurship. The idea came because I was kind of fed up with my day job. At the time, I was teaching maths in secondary schools, and I fell in love with coffee around that same time, and just become disengaged with the educational system a little bit and just needed something new, but I didn't quite know what. I had this idea to start a coffee cart business, so like to hire for business events, weddings, that type of thing. So got cracking, built a coffee cart, which was way too big, not suited for purpose. But I still loved it, and we managed to do our first event. It was on International Women's Day, March 2020, and as we know, the whole world went to pot shortly after. So that dream, kind of was born and died very quickly. But I was one of the very lucky few people to have a coffee machine in my living room. So I was still having really great coffee and feeling very guilty. I started selling coffee to local people just in my area. We were all stuck at home, so gave me something to do as well, and it just kind of reinforced my love of working with coffee. But ultimately, it's really about the people and the connection you make through coffee is the part I love more than actually drinking the coffee. So I was in lockdown. I decided, right, that there's a future in this, and it changed very quickly because I realized I didn't want to leave teaching completely altogether, and this was a way I could combine two things that I love to do in a completely new way, and it surpassed my expectations so far, and I couldn't be happier doing it, although there are certainly challenges, there are certainly difficult times as well as the good times. If you could go to the next one, that'd be great. Thanks, Elizabeth. Trying to remember what it was. Yeah. So we, obviously a social enterprise, I'm sure a lot of us know, but if we don't, it runs as a regular business. You have to make profit, even though we throw this term not-for-profit around. We focus on our social goals, but we do want to be a sustainable business. And just like you were saying before as well, that we don't want to rely on grant funds. We want to be self-sustainable and and see it as investment, see it as something that can help us grow and reach more young people and achieve those social goals. So for us, they're tackling youth unemployment, particularly in our local community here in Butetown and Grangetown. Kind of the south of Cardiff is where we're starting. And it's really for any young people who experience barriers to employment. When I started off in this sphere, I kind of thought, what is a barrier, or what barriers am I aware of? For me, for example, it's growing up in a, what's the correct term these days, but like a deprived community or low socioeconomic background. I've grown up in a very, very diverse family. So I've, kind of had witness to how that can be a barrier. But what I've learned is that there are so many more barriers out there than I could have possibly imagined. And I got to hold my hand up and say, I really don't know what a lot of these young people are facing these days, because they're not things I have first-hand experience of. So I'm learning constantly. But the second one is raising confidence and self-esteem, boosting well-being, which is such a big word this day and age, but it's just so crucial. Without that confidence, without that self-belief and that, willpower, it doesn't matter what skills you might have or what talents you might have. If you don't have that confidence to go out and get it, then that's a huge barrier. So that's something we love to see on the courses we deliver. And the last one is improving and addressing issues of diversity and representation within the coffee industry, particularly here in Cardiff. If you pop to the next one. Amazing, thank you. So I've just chucked up some pictures of what we really do. So the main focus, the main activity of what Boss and Brew does is the barista training programs. So I get to geek out over making great coffee and teaching people how to make great coffee. It's just a win-win for me. But I just love working with these youngsters, from all different backgrounds. Like I said, they have such a huge range of different perceived barriers, and I learn from them all the time, just as much as they might learn to make great coffee. But the future of Cardiff's coffee is in really good hands, I can assure you, because some of the talent that we're seeing from these youngsters coming through is mind-blowing. So these are some pictures of our workshops. We tend to work with other organisations who have similar kind of ethos to us, I suppose. So we work with like Cardiff Youth Service. We do a lot with the Cardiff Council Interwork Service, which has been quite good because I can really kind of tap into the local community that I'm a part of as well, and kind of ensure that these opportunities are reaching people here. We've done some workshops with Women's Aid. I always go blank when I think of this. Women's Aid, Cardiff Youth Service. It escapes me, but we've worked with different organisations to try to reach more people. And then if you go to the next one. Amazing. So another, like I said, part of being a social enterprise, we do need to be sustainable, and we are bringing back the coffee cart, which was the original idea. So we're trying to offer that for weddings, business events, conferences, product launches, and we've done quite a few of these in our first year, but it's not been the main focus, let's say, but it will certainly be this coming year now, as I feel like it's going to be a good revenue stream in order for the projects, the barista programs, to be sustainable in the long term. And the next one. Thank you. The Millennium Centre, we're now based in the Millennium Centre, so the National Arts Centre for Wales down in Cardiff Bay, which is on my home soil, and I pinch myself every single time I walk to work in the morning. That's why I've had to run home, because there was a matinee performance on today, but I was delivering a workshop and had to run back for some quiet. It started out with running a pilot scheme at the centre with 6 incredible young people. Some of them are on the screen now, who then got jobs working in the centre as a direct result of the programme. And I think the Millennium Centre, they saw kind of the benefit for them in terms of employment and access in the local community as well. And from there, now we have our own space in the centre, which is the base for all the training workshops. And then the next one. Thank you. So the future of Boss and Brew. Obviously having a base, it's a huge deal for us, because logistically you can imagine trying to cart around espresso machines. It's not light stuff. So it makes everything logistically so much easier. It means we're able to put more on, we're able to reach more young people, and also diversify a bit in what we offer. So we're looking now at offering a longer program suited to people that need that bit of extra support and more consistent partnership with, basically, where everything's through the medium of coffee, but ultimately coffee is just, it's just a drink at the end of the day, as passionate as I do get about it. It's really about what coffee does. It does bring people together. I've sat around tables which I thought, whenever would we sit around a table together if it wasn't for this program, kind of thing. And for some people it's sport brings people together, certainly, and we just happen to use coffee to do that. So we'll be offering some SCA, so that's Specialty Coffee Association accredited courses as well from January onwards. We're looking at running our co-working Wednesdays, so it's like an alternative co-working space down at the centre with all-day coffee included. Our youth night on a Thursday, which is like a study social club for young people to come and kind of hang out, study, chill, whatever they want to do. But all centred around giving train opportunities to the youngsters that do the programme, giving them work experience. So we work quite closely with the independent coffee community in Cardiff in terms of like providing them with trained baristas, kind of linking our new trainees to those opportunities as well. And then the next one, I can't even remember what the last one is. Oh, latte art, yeah. They're just fun pictures to look at. Everyone likes a pretty coffee. Yeah, our mantra has kind of developed into this: coffee in one hand, confidence in the other. And I find myself a bit of a cliche sometimes, because I talk a lot to young people about believing in themselves and, like taking every opportunity, that comes your way while you're young. Like, this is very much about narrowing things down when you're young. The more opportunities you take, the more you can kind of discover what you're good at, what you're not so good at, what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, and so on. And you just narrow it down till you find your kind of niche. I feel like that took me a long time. I've gotten through my own experience, which is a whole nother talk altogether. But yeah, tips that I'd like to kind of offer, and I'm happy to answer any questions. But some of the big tips, I think, or lessons that I'm still learning now, is that don't think you have to have things all figured out to start something. Don't feel like everything's got to be perfect and well organized, because I'm doing some great things, but I'm equally doing some things that I'm not going to shout about, because I'm like, oh my God, why did I do that? Or, how did I not see that wasn't going to work, for example. I didn't know anything about business when I started this, and I find myself doing, just as much, if not more, admin and paperwork and, networking, which I enjoy, but, far more of that than I do actually teach people how to make great coffee. So it's really about striking that balance and remembering why you start this, because that will get you through, the parts of the business which you maybe don't enjoy as much, for example. Trying to think I had some pills of wisdom earlier and I've forgotten them all now. But also as well, I think something that's not spoken about much when getting into social enterprise is we're all different. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different responsibilities and so on. And I massively underestimated how much this would take over my life. I love doing what I do every day, and I love the learning journey of it as well for me. But, I'm a single mum. I have 2 children that I'm raising who are, 13 and 11 and eat everything and constantly on the go. And it's a struggle trying to get that balance and making sure that their emotional needs are taken care of, my needs are taken care of, as well as running something. But so I think you have to know your why. You have to know why you're doing it, and is it worth it for you? I can bang on about how it's impacted this young person or that young person, and don't get me wrong, that's amazing and it keeps me going. But ultimately as well, I really got to make this, you've got to make it work for yourself and your family and your situation as well. But I'm not going to babble on anymore, but if anyone has any questions, yes, hit me up, no problem.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Natalie. Fantastic. You covered some of the questions people posed actually, but we'll ask them, we'll check again at the end if anyone's got other questions. So now we're going to go on to our final speaker. So it's Carol from Mentor Tin Plan. And this is the really exciting bit, is where I see if I can explain to you how to listen in English. So Carol is joining us from up near Carnarvon. It's fantastic to have her here today. So before Carol starts, I just want to check with you the interpretation settings. So on your screen somewhere, you should have a black toolbar with lots of grey icons. Some of you hopefully will have done this before, but you should be able to see like a little globe. It looks like a sort of world shape in grey, and it might say interpretation. So when you find that globe, if you click it and you need to select, I think it's listen to audio in English, and our lovely translator Delith, who's here, will interpret Carol's talk from Welsh into English for people who aren't Welsh speakers. If you're a Welsh speaker, you're very welcome. You don't need to do anything. You should just hear it as it sounds. If there is a problem, then Carol's slides, I think, in English as well. So is everyone able, if you could just give me a thumbs up, are you able to see the little globe bar and select English? I'm sorry, there wasn't a word for Welsh, we had to put Japanese. Yeah, is that okay? So I'll briefly look at the chat, see if anyone's having any problems, but my colleague Jude hopefully can help as well, and we'll try and direct you if you are struggling to find the interpretation, but it should be okay. It's just if you're on an iPad or something like that you might struggle to find the icon. Okay, so we'll do a little test now with Delith. Shall we Delith and Carol? Is that okay? Delith will do a test first, thanks.
Okay, just checio, di pawb yn clywed yn iawn? Di pawb yn gallu clywed Delith, ia? Okay, gret, iawn, diolch yn fawr. Caryl Lewis di'n enw fi, dwi'n gadeirydd Menter Tin Llan yn Llandwrog yn Gwynedd. So dwi yn mynd i fynd â chi drwy y siwrna da ni wedi cychwyn a da ni arni hi lle, o be da ni wedi ddysgu ar hyd y ffordd. So nôl yn 2021, lle da ni'n ganol y pandemig, ar ni, arna griw bach ohon ni ddod at ei gilydd, i drafod be fysa ni'n gallu gwneud hefo'r dafarn wag oedd yn y pentra. So mae'r pentra yn fach iawn, da ni mewn ardal wledig, yn reit isolated, does da ddim fawr o ddim cludiant cyhoeddus yma, does am siop, does am neuadd, does na ddim canolfan o unrhyw fath yma lle. Wedyn oedd y dafarn wedi bod ar gau ers 2017 ac yn ista'n wag ac yn dirywio. Mae'n adeilad hyfryd, mae'n Grade 2 listed, a mae yna lot o hanes i'r adeilad lle. Oedd yn gymaint o bechod gweld y lle'n wag, a dwi'n meddwl y ffaith bod bod ni wedi cael y sgwrs mewn ystod y pandemig, dwi'n meddwl bod bobl wedi sylweddoli hyd yn oed mwy pa mor bwysig ydy gwasanaethau lleol a pa mor bwysig ydy pobl a cymdeithasu. So dod am yn ideal amser i brynu pub, dwi'n meddwl mae'r ffaith bod ni yn y pandemig di alla highlight pa mor bwysig oedd cael ased i'r gymuned hefyd lle. Wedyn ar ni gynnal cyfarfod cyhoeddus dros Zoom, ac arna dros 200 o bobl ddod i'r cyfarfod yna, gan feddwl na mond 400 o bobl sy'n byw yn y pentra lle. A'r teimlad oedd yn ystod y cyfarfod oedd, ia, dylen ni rili mynd amdani a trio prynu'r dafarn lle fel cymuned. Felly ar i'r criw bach o 4 ohonon ni dyfu mewn ffordd, gennym ni lot o gefnogaeth tu nôl i ni, a lot eisiau helpu, ar i ni symud i greu strwythur ffurfiol, ar i ni greu Community Benefit Society, ac ar i ni ddatblygu hefo'r gymuned be fysa'n gweledigaeth ni ar gyfer yr adeilad, ag y cynllun busnes. Ac oedd hwnna'n rili pwysig i gael yn iawn oherwydd i gymryd y dafarn ymlaen, mi fysa rhaid iddo fo fod yn gynaliadwy ac yn hyfyw, ac mi oedd cael y model busnes cadarn yn bwysig lle. A wedyn, mi oedd y dafarn wedi dod fyny ar werth am 350,000, so mi gennym ni lot o waith codi pres. Ar i ni wneud ymgyrch yn gofyn os oes y bobl yn fodlon rhoi benthyg pres i ni. Ac o fewn 5 diwrnod, oedden ni wedi cael cynigion o 750,000 in total. So oedd o jyst yn danos faint o gefnogaeth oedd na tuag at y syniad o gennym ni lle. Ond oedden ni ddim rili eisiau derbyn y benthyciadau yna. Ond mi oedd y benthyciadau yn ddigon i ni allu roed yn cynnig i mewn i'r estate agent ac ar un cynnig ni gael ei dderbyn. So ni roi cynnig i mewn am 325 ac ath hwnna i dderbyn. Ond be oedden ni eisiau gwneud? Oedden ni eisiau prynu'r dafarn drwy shares cymunedol, fel bod na berchnogaeth cymunedol oherwydd efo'r lawns yn amlwg so ni wedi gorfod talu nhw nôl yn sydyn a doedden ni ddim eisiau bod mewn dylad lle. So'r syniad oedd bod ni'n lansio share offer ac o fewn 6 wythnos ac 1 diwrnod ar ni godi 465,000 mewn community shares. So mae gennym ni shareholders dros y byd i gyd, dros 1,000 o aelodau America, Australia, yr Almaen, bo math o lefydd lle bobl fod dim math o gysylltiad hefo Llandorog, ond bod nhw yn credu yn yr achos ac eisiau'n cefnogi ni. Wedyn ar ni gwblhau'r pryniant yn Mehefin ac pan ar ni brynu'r dafarn, o'na goblyn olwg ar ni ddeu gwir, o'na lygod mawr yna, o'na llanast tu mewn. So doedden ni'n mynd i meddwl sa'n ni'n gallu ogor am hir iawn, ond trwy gymorth gwirfoddolwyr ar i ni allu gwneud lot fawr o waith am ddim ac o pawb yn chipio mewn ac ar ni allu ogor y dafarn dolyg dwytha. So jyst llun o'n ni fan hyn o flaen y dafarn, di cael agoriad, pawb fe'i masgia, a hefyd ar ni ddatblygu lot o merchandise, so glasses, bar o siocled, crysau tŷ, bob dim oedden ni'n gallu meddwl am rili i wneud siŵr bod yr ymgyrch yn llwyddo. Wedyn erbyn rŵan, da ni'n cyflogi 11 aelod o staff, a mae hwnna'n yn deimlad rili braf bod ni yn cyflogi bobl lleol, lot o bobl ifanc, a mae hynny yn bwysig i ni lle fel menter. Da ni wedi gwneud lot o waith i ddatblygu'r ardd trwy'r gwirfoddolwyr. Da ni wedi gallu ogor y gegin ac wan yn gweini bwyd. Da ni wedi comisiynu pensaer oherwydd be da ni'n adnabod, dydy'r dafarn fel ma hi ddim yn viable. Ac yr weledigaeth mewn ffordd ydy cael adnodd cymunedol i bawb bob oedran. So da ni eisiau bod yn lot mwy na just tafarn lle. Wedyn da ni wedi comisiynu pensaer ac mae'r pensaer wedi gweithio hefo ni dros gyfnod i ddatblygu cynlluniau i ymestyn y cefn a hefyd i wneud y stabal mewn i stafell gymunedol, fatha stand-alone lle. Da ni hefyd wedi codi 750,000 mewn grantiau i wneud phase 1 restoration oherwydd oedd yr adeilad angen to newydd, ffenestri newydd, bob math o waith jyst i gael yr adeilad yn weather tight ac i ddiogelu'r adeilad hanesyddol lle. Da ni wedi comisiynu cydlynydd prosiect i helpu ni hefo'r ceisiadau grant mawr oherwydd mae phase 2 yn mynd i gostio tua 2 filiwn. Ond mae phase 2 yn hanfodol i wneud siŵr bod y fenter yn hyfyw yn y pen draw a bod ni'n cael y multiple income streams na. Oherwydd bydd gennym ni yn y pen draw 5 stafell aros, bydd gennym ni 2 stafell gymunedol, bydd gennym ni lot mwy o le, bita. Wedyn mae o'n rili pwysig bod gennym ni'r gofod yna hefyd i gynnal yr holl weithgareddau cymunedol. Mae gennym ni weithgareddau o bob math yn digwydd ar hyn o bryd o fewn space really limited. Mae gennym ni grŵp garddio, mae gennym ni glwb bobl ifanc, mae gennym ni clwb dysgwyr Cymraeg, mae gennym ni clwb cinio i bobl hŷn, bore coffi, clwb cerdded, clwb Ffrangeg, bob math o weithgareddau yn digwydd ar y funud o fewn yr limited space sydd gennym ni lle. Ond mae hyrwyddo'r iaith yn rili pwysig i ni, a hefyd da ni wedi gwneud lot o waith rhwydweithio a creu cysylltiadau, a da ni wedi cael help gan cwmpas a'r plunkett hefyd lle, so mae hynny wedi bod yn bwysig i ni o ran llwyddo. A mae pawb hefo cyfraniad i roi ac yn teimlo perchnogaeth dros Tyn Llan lle, a mae'n deimlad braf bod pawb yn teimlo bod 'na groeso iddyn nhw a bod 'na rwbath i bawb yna lle. So o ran yr heriau, mae'r adeilad yn hen ac yn Grade 2 listed, so mae hwnna efo'i heriau hun. Recriwtio staff wedi bod yn anodd, mae pawb yn deud y fath, ond mae recriwtio staff wedi bod yn her i ni. Rhedag tafarn, yr un o'n ni ar y pwyllgor wedi actually rhedag tafarn o blaen, so mae hwnna wedi bod yn huge learning curve i ni, a da ni dal i ddysgu. Mae torri'n wastad yn sialens ar y funud oherwydd da ni yn gwneud colliad ar y funud, ac mi fydd rhaid i ni gael yr estyniad ac yr extra space yma ac ystafelloedd aros i gael i wneud siŵr bod y fenter yn hyfyw. A dyna di'r nod lle. Genna ni ddiffyg lle. A mae rheoli prosiect werth 750,000 mewn paralel hefo datblygu prosiect 2 filiwn yn her yn ei hun ac amser, achos gwirfoddolwr ydw i. Gen i 3 o blant bach, dwi'n rhedeg busnes hefyd, so mae o'n cael y balans yna yn di bod bach yn anodd lle. Ond mae i gyd wertho, mae'r effaith yn glir, da ni di ymateb i fwlch hefyd yn y gymuned lle, a mae'n bwysig i fi yn bendant rhoid yn ôl a cael y teimlad yna o bwrpas. Mae'n braf bod ni'n cefnogi busnesau lleol hefyd, a mae cadw yn iaith a'n trefntadaeth ni yn fyw yn ofnadwy o bwysig lle, a'r ffaith bod ni wedi llwyddo i ddiogelu adeilad hanesyddol a jyst yn eistedd yn wag yn pydru yn bwysig. Dwi'n jyst mynd i fast forward i wan oherwydd dwi'n mynd dros amser, ond so jyst adlewyrchu ag be da ni wedi ddysgu ar hyd y daith. Does na ddim byd yn amhosib. Nes i rioed feddwl sa'n ni'n llwyddo i brynu tafarn yn ystod pandemig, ond da ni wedi llwyddo. So mae'n bwysig bod chi yn credu yn eich hun, bod chi mae'r cydgynhyrchu yn ofnadwy o bwysig a cynnwys pawb, a mae dysgu gan gymeriadau yn amlwg yn bwysig lle da ni bob tro'n barod i dderbyn barn ag adborth, a da ni hefyd yn ddigon onast i ddeud, actually, mi ar ni gael hwnna'n wrong, dyma da ni wedi ddysgu, dyma da ni'n mynd i wneud rwan lle. A mae gweithredu fel tîm yn bwysig, a mae pawb efo rhywbeth i gyfrannu ac i roi. Mae gennym ni bwyllgor rili cryf, pawb efo sgiliau, ond hefyd mae gennym ni lot o bobl sydd ddim eisiau bod ar bwyllgor a sydd ddim eisiau dod i gyfarfodydd, ond mae nhw eisiau cyfrannu a mae nhw eisiau helpu. So mae gennym ni griw enghraifft sydd wrth i bod yn cynnal yr ardd. Mae gennym ni griw sydd eisiau helpu chdi bach to dal y barn, eisiau helpu yn y gegin. So jyst cydnabod bod pawb efo'i gryfder a pawb efo'i sgiliau. Bo ni wedi rhoi lot o ryddid i wirfoddolwyr hefyd, mae hwnna wedi bod yn bwysig, a bo ni yn rhannu'r baich pan mae'n mynd yn too much, a dwi'n digon parod i ddeud, actually, dwi jyst methu neu hwnna rwan. Mae rhaid i ni fod yn rhannu'r baich yn fwy teg, mae pawb wedyn yn dweud, ia, actually. A mae yn rili pwysig cadw i'ch gwerthoedd a cyfathrebu, hyd yn oed os oes o ddim byd i ddeud, mae'n rili pwysig cael y cyfathrebu rheolaidd yna lle, a mae hwnna wedi bod yn bwysig i ni wrth symud ymlaen. A wedyn, da ni wedi ennill gwobr yn ddiweddar. So gwobr Busnes Cymdeithasol Cymru un eventer i wylio. So da ni'n reit proud o hynny. So, mae gen i fideo hefyd, ond wneith hwnna gael ei rannu efo'r slides ac yn y links, os ym amser i ddanos hwnna wan. Diolch.
Well, that's brilliant. Thank you, Carol. Thank you to all of you. We're all so inspired by everything you've achieved so far. It's amazing. Thank you so much for that recap. And we wanted to also share with you the experience of, that one is a community benefit society where they've raised shares from the community, so that compare with the different ways of, running a social enterprise potentially. So we should have time now for questions. I don't know if there's been any new questions in the chat. And we've got a few questions that were submitted already before the event started, so we could start with the ones that were submitted already. Or is there anyone got any new questions in there? Jude, did you manage to spot any new ones?
There were a couple for Natalie, but I think she's sort of made some response in the chat.
Okay, great, thanks. So if you've got new questions, please feel free to pop them in and we'll try and get to them. So I'm just looking at the list of questions we had already. I'm really sorry, my dog is doing something weird in the background. So one of the questions I think is about the key challenges over the next 3 years. Would any of you like to answer to that? What you feel the key challenges are over the next 3 years?
Well, the obvious one is heating bills if you've got a premises, and also generally sort of price rises. It's really hard. You've got this dual thing at the moment. Your costs going up. I'm sure all businesses are saying this, and yet what you can't just put as everyone else has got less money to spend. It's very, especially if your end customer is members of the public, that they're becoming much more price sensitive. So it's quite hard to pass that on to your customers.
Absolutely. One of the things that worries me, and again, this is a completely new area to me as well, so I'm still just learning about it all the time. But looking at the youth budgets, obviously a lot of the work that we do are with young people, 16 to 24-year-old category, and I remember the cuts back when I was using youth services myself, or just around that time. And I remember particularly well in Butetown and Grangetown the effects that had on our local communities. And it's taken a heck of a lot of grassroots level initiatives from lots of various people here to bring it back. And yeah, is the worry over the next 2 years is obviously with the state of our country at the moment. It's like, where's that going to go? And there's a lot of people waiting on those big decisions over the next few years.
Carol, did you want to mention anything?
I ni, dwi'n meddwl fel menter, da ni yn rili awyddus I fod yn cefnogi trigolion hefo crisis costa byw. Da ni yn hub cymunedol, dim pub, lle. Wedyn, mae'n rili pwysig I ni bod ni'n gwneud be allwn ni I helpu. Da ni wedi cychwyn y clwb cinio bobl hŷn, da ni'n edrych wan I droi mewn I fatha hub cynnas lle mae bobl yn gallu just dod mewn I fod yn gynnas at y tân, panad os dyn nhw isio lle, dim pressure, ond da ni'n gobeithio fod yn rhoi panad am ddim I ddigwyr, ond bod ni yn gwneud yn rhan mewn ffordd hefyd, a bod da ni'n cynnal sesiynau I bobl ar sut I arbed ynni, sut I fanteisio ar y byd aliadau a'r cymorth sydd allan yna. Wedyn, cydnabod bod gennym ni rôl hefyd I chwarae ac I helpu bobl efo'r crisis presennol lle.
I think, I was just going to say this, when there's a bit of a downturn like this in the economy, I think it really stresses, we talked about diversification of maybe what you offer, but it's also important to have a diverse sort of customer base. So if your customer is only, say, one local authority and they have massive cuts, then you've got problems. Or if it's just a certain sort of group of people within a community, and then for whatever reason their spending, goes. So it's really important, I think, for any business to have as wide a sort of customer base as possible. And I think we'll see this in the years to come, how important that will be. And if you just have one or two customers, you're really increasing sort of your risk levels of your income being slashed.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Thanks for those. We've got a new question come in, and I've got a couple of the earlier questions that I'd like to get to if we've got chance. So a question for you, Andrew, from Anna. She wants to know how you made the decision to start the social enterprise, and did you have a definite idea that this was the way you wanted to do things as opposed to setting up a regular business?
If there's more, I'd worked in the charity sector for quite a while, or the community, and I just got fed up with that 3-year cycle of grant funding, things starting and ending. And I just didn't think it was you didn't get a lot out of a lot of these projects, because you get 3 years of funding, it takes 6 months to get it going, and then 6 months before it ends, people start leaving. Whereas what I love about social enterprise, or the model of it, looking at it, is that you'll sort of become in charge of your own destiny. If you can get that business up and running, you really have so much sort of power not is it power, but like control over what you want to do, rather than always dancing to the tune of your various different funders and going cap in hand to them. I just got fed up with that model.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. That's really helpful to know. And I know that there's other social enterprises on the call here today. If you want to chip in your own ideas, then I'm sure that would be great if you want to pop them in the chat as well. So one of the questions that I already had posed, it's hopefully you might all be able to answer this. So someone asked if you've ever struggled to find clarity on either what the enterprising bit of your project could be, or where to focus your enterprise and energies. I think Natalie touched on this earlier. Sort of, how did you get around this challenge? You know, basically, where do you devote your time? So, have you ever struggled with that? And how did you sort of resolve it? It'd be great to hear what you think. If you just could give a sort of briefish answer so everyone gets a chance to have a go. Who would like to go to that one? Do you want to go first, Carol or Natalie?
Don't mind. Either way, mine will be quick, I can tell you that, because I don't have it figured out, guys. I'm very much trying to find that balance, and it's saying no to more things than I currently do, which people tell you this when you know, people are very kind giving you advice, and they always say don't say yes to everything, and so you go into it knowing that. And it's still so difficult, because when you love what you do, or when you're passionate about what you do, you want to get it out there and you want to take those opportunities. But it's this coming year now is definitely more no's on the table, you know, taking the right opportunities, which are going to mean that this business thrives in 2 years' time, in 5 years' time, and so on. Like I mentioned about that youth budget thing, I can't rely on youth budgets from government level to ensure that this business succeeds. I have to look at diversifying and focus my energies on that. And discipline is a huge one. You know, I'm becoming much better at it, but I tend to want to focus on the things that I enjoy a lot more than the things I know I should be focusing on, because that's what's going to be the right decision for the business. But I'm getting better, and then I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Do you have any comments on that one, Carol?
Swn i'n cytuno efo Natalie, mae'n bwysig dweud na a dysgu pryd i dweud na, ac dydych chi ddim yn mynd i allu gwneud bob dim, a da ni yn blaenoriaethu oherwydd da ni gyd, yr 14 sydd ar y bwrdd gwirfoddolwyr ydyn ni gyd. Dwi'n rhoi lot fawr o'n amser i fewn i Mentor Tyn Llan, o hefyd mae rhaid i fi fod yn gwneud yn gwaith yn hun neu fyddai'm yn gallu talu mortgage na bwydo fy mhlant. So mae cael y balans yna, ac bod ni yn blaenoriaethu, a da ni wedi cael gwadd i fynd i gymaint o bethau, a da ni eisiau mynd, ond eto fedrai'm fforddio diwrnod yn Llundain yn Gaerdydd, a colli diwrnod o waith achos dwi'n self-employed hefyd, so mae rhaid i fi fod yn, mae rhaid cael y balans yna lle, a dwi'n gwirfoddolwyr ydyn ni gyd, da ni yn cyflogi staff i redeg y dafarn, ond mae hynny purely y day-to-day bar ac y bwyd lle. Sgynnon ni neb sydd yn gwneud yr ochr datblygu ni, so da ni'n cyrraedd pwynt wan lle da ni angen swyddog datblygu i fod yn cefnogi ni fel bwrdd, so da ni'n gobeithio, gawn ni wybod thos yma, gynnon ni gais grant i mewn lle helpu ni efo hynny.
Oh, okay, that's great. Thank you, Carol. Diolch. So I can't see any other chat. If you see any other questions popping up there, Jude, just let me know. So another question. Oh, sorry, Andrew, did I ask you about that one? You're on mute.
I forgot what the question was now. It was about probably being pulled in different directions.
Yeah, balancing. How do you decide like where to dedicate your time? I'm
going to be really boring here and say I really concentrate on the business, and I find that the social impact side takes care of itself. That doesn't mean to sound sort of glib, but I just think if your social impact is embedded in your business, so therefore the better your business does, the more social impact you have, then you can concentrate on the business, and naturally the social impact occurs, if that makes sense. I think that's the sort of what I'm aiming for in a social enterprise, rather than being separate and you do a business and then use the money. That is a model. Do a business, make some money, deliver a social impact separately. There's also the model where they're very much intertwined, and I think the other two speakers, their models, it's true, as their business works, their social impact will increase. Naturally, they're interwoven.
Okay, that's great, thank you. And there was another question there for Carol about the board, but I think she's actually answered that in the chat about the makeup of the board, so that's really helpful, thank you. For others amongst you, if you need help like looking at directors' responsibilities, that kind of thing, we can offer support with that as well. And there was another question about the amounts that you raised with the pub, and I think she's answered that bit as well, so thank you. It's absolutely amazing what you've done. And likewise, we've got a community shares team if anybody wants help with that and information with that. So there was another question. I'll try and cram this one in and see if we've got any more afterwards. This one was about how do you manage your mental health in an environment where we were encouraged to show a successful face at all times? So how do you manage that? If anyone would like to answer that, take it away.
Ga i eto hwnna? Dwi'n meddwl mae gwirfoddoli ar rhai nôl yn cyfrannu at iechyd meddwl da. Dwi'n meddwl mae hynny'n rili pwysig i fi yn bersonol, bo fi yn cael y teimlad yna bwrpas ar rhai nôl, a mae hwnna yn bwysig i fi o ran llesiant fi fy hun, a dwi'n meddwl bod pawb sydd yn rhan o Menter Tyn y Llân yn teimlo'r un fath, a hefyd yn cwsmeriaid ni. A dwi'n meddwl bod mae sefydlu'r fenter di sbarduno lot o bethau eraill yn y gymuned. Mae gennym ni grŵp beicio dynion rwan wedi cychwyn. Nawn ni gychwyn o flaen Tyn y Llân, awn ni yna'n beint neu panad wedyn, lle pan da ni wedi gorffen y bike ride. So mae fatha'r trickle effect na, a dwi'n mae di neud gymaint o wahaniaeth i iechyd meddwl a llesiant pawb yn y gymuned. Does am ffordd o ddisgrifio fo rili, mae o jyst mor braf i weld, ond o ran iechyd meddwl yn hun, cymryd brec weithiau Tyn y Llân yn bwysig i fi hefyd, achos dwi wedi cael ambell i breakdown mewn rhai o'r cyfarfodydd lle dwi wedi bod yn poeni bod ni'n mynd i golli pres, neu mae'n gymaint o pressure efo'r grantiau yma. Mae gennym ni lot o grantiau gwahanol, a mae jyst yr bureaucracy a'r holl ofynion o ran adrodd a monitro efo bob un yn lot o waith. A wedyn, peidio bod ofn chwaith deud weithiau pan mae'n mynd yn too much. Mae hwnna'n bwysig.
Thank you.
I have to agree with everything that Carol just said on that. It is incredibly rewarding when you're working within something that does have a social impact. And quite often, if I'm having a bit of a rough day or a rough week, it is quite often the young people I'm working with that do pick me up without them even realizing it. They can be quite inspirational, especially some of the stories that they've got, some of their lived experiences. It does give you a lot of perspective as well. And, we're all struggling in our own ways, some obviously more than others. And, starting any business, I'm developing the board of directors at the moment further again. And every time I do that, I feel a little bit less alone. because start doing any business, whether it's social enterprise or not, I think starting any business is quite a scary thing to do. It's quite a brave thing to do, I would say now, and it can be quite lonely. So pulling on whether it be talking to other people in the same boat as you to kind of lift you up. Things like this today is great for my mental health, because I'm realizing I'm not alone. There's lots of people in similar situations, and it's about prioritizing. Somebody gave me the advice a couple of weeks ago: always put something in the diary to work towards, to kind of to treat yourself with. Whatever that might look like for you is different for everyone, but for me, it's just being able to switch my phone off and be really present with my kids. We're off on holiday next week for the first time in I don't even know how many years. And it'll be, I'm just so looking forward to it. It's giving yourself that break as well, allowing yourself to have one.
I was just going to add to that. Yeah, don't burst into tears in front of customers or lose it. But we as a business, we had a really rough time just before COVID. Actually, a lot of transition, a lot of various things, and since then we've actually had it as a strategic aim in board meetings when we're looking at business development. Will that cause more stress to people? And we can't do it without just making people more stressed. We're not going to do it. So that might mean we need to employ someone else, or we need to change things. But just adding more, asking people just to do more, or just cranking up the volume more to bring in more money isn't an option, because we know where that leads. We've seen it, people getting really fed up, tired, and really stressed. So that is why we've kind of embedded it into our business development, is trying to keep an eye on stress levels.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Well, I think we've almost run out of time now, but thanks so much for answering those questions. And I know there's a couple we didn't get to, which were kind of around sort of general tips and how do you decide how much to pay yourselves, that kind of stuff. So any extra questions I'll try and pop to the speakers. So please, any other questions you can pop in the chat now. I'm going to save it all, and I'll put everything on a Padlet and send you the link and get the presentations for you all. But thanks for your questions, everybody, and thanks to the speakers as well for being so open, and we've all really appreciated all that. And I'd just like to give a shout out to the other social enterprises that are on here today as well. I can see some of you here: Elysium, Aberfood, Tridony, is it? I think some of you here, go and check them out. They're all doing great work as well. Thank you ever so much, everybody, and have a great Social Enterprise Day.
Diolch pawb.
Caryl.
Cheers.
Diolch.
All the best. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, George.
Thank you. I just got to save the chat and stop recording.